The rain battered the cracked windshield of the social worker's sedan, each drop a hammer against Emma's heart. She was 18 and the system had chewed her up and spat her out, one foster home after another, each worse than the last. Today, though, was different. Today she was being delivered to the Carltons, a couple notorious for their iron-fisted rules and a reputation that made caseworkers whisper in hushed tones. Emma clutched her tattered backpack, her only constant through years of upheaval. Inside were a few clothes, a dog-eared journal, and a Polaroid of her and Lily, the one person who made her feel like she wasn't drowning. The car lurched to a stop in front of a looming Victorian house in Willow Creek, Pennsylvania, its gray exterior as unyielding as the couple waiting inside. Mrs. Carlton, Helen, stood at the door, her posture rigid, her gray hair pulled into a severe bun. Her husband, Richard, flanked her, his eyes cold and assessing. "Emma," Helen said, her voice clipped, "we expect discipline, obedience, and gratitude. You'll find no leniency here." Emma's stomach twisted, but she nodded, her jaw tight. She'd survived worse. She could survive this. The first week was a gauntlet. The Carltons' rules were suffocating. No music, no phone, no leaving the house without permission. Meals were at precise times, prayers mandatory, and every task scrutinized. Emma's room was a barren box with a single bed and a Bible on the nightstand. She felt like a prisoner, but she'd learned long ago to keep her head down. Still, her thoughts drifted to Lily, her best friend, her secret love, who lived just across town. They'd met 2 years ago at a community center art class, where Lily's gentle laugh and warm brown eyes had cracked open Emma's guarded heart. One night, after the Carltons had gone to bed, Emma crept to the attic, the only place she felt a sliver of freedom. She pulled out her journal and wrote to Lily words she'd never dare send. "I miss you. I miss the way you make me feel like I'm enough. I don't know how to survive this place without you." She traced the Polaroid with her finger, Lily's smile a beacon in the dark. They'd stolen kisses in hidden corners of Willow Creek, moments that felt like rebellion against a world that didn't want them to exist. But now, trapped in this house, those moments felt like a dream slipping away. The next morning, Helen caught Emma sketching in her journal during breakfast. "What's this?" she demanded, snatching the book. Emma's heart stopped as Helen's eyes scanned the pages, landing on a drawing of Lily, her name scrawled in the margins. "This is unacceptable," Helen snapped. "You will focus on your duties, not frivolous distractions." She tore the page out, crumpling it. Emma's hands shook, but she bit back her anger. She couldn't risk being sent away again. Not when Lily was so close. Days bled into weeks, and Emma learned to navigate the Carltons' world. She scrubbed floors, memorized Bible verses, and kept her head low. But the weight of their judgment pressed harder each day. Richard's sermons about sin and purity felt like daggers aimed at her soul. She overheard them whispering one night, their voices sharp with suspicion. "She's hiding something. We'll break her yet." Emma's chest tightened. They didn't know about Lily, but they sensed her defiance, her refusal to bend completely. Then came the day she saw Lily again. It was a rare trip to the grocery store with Helen, who watched her like a hawk. As Emma reached for a can of soup, she heard a familiar laugh. Her head snapped up, and there was Lily pushing a cart, her black hair catching the fluorescent light. Their eyes met, and for a moment the world fell away. Lily's smile was a lifeline, but Helen's sharp cough yanked Emma back. "Move along," Helen said, her gaze narrowing as she noticed Lily. Emma's pulse raced. She couldn't let Helen suspect anything. That night Emma risked everything. She snuck out, climbing down the trellis outside her window, her heart pounding as she ran through Willow Creek's quiet streets to Lily's house. Lily was waiting in her backyard, her face lit by moonlight. They didn't speak at first, just held each other, the world's weight falling away. "I can't stay long," Emma whispered, her voice trembling. "They'll notice I'm gone." Lily cupped her face, her touch soft but fierce. "You don't belong in that house, Emma. You're stronger than they are." They kissed, desperate and fleeting, before Emma slipped back into the night. But secrets don't stay buried in a town like Willow Creek. The next morning, Helen was waiting at the kitchen table, her face a mask of fury. In her hand was Emma's journal, now missing more pages. "You've been sneaking out," she said, her voice low and dangerous. "Who is this Lily?" Emma's blood ran cold. She opened her mouth to lie, but Helen cut her off. Don't. We'll deal with this after church. The promise in her tone sent a shiver down Emma's spine. She didn't know how much Helen had pieced together. But one thing was clear. Her world was about to unravel. Church was a suffocating ritual. The pews hard and the air thick with judgment. Emma sat rigid, Helen's eyes boring into her from the next seat, as the pastor droned about temptation and redemption. Every word felt like a warning, a cage tightening around her secret. She kept her gaze forward, but her mind was with Lily, the memory of last night's kiss burning bright, a defiance she clung to like oxygen. Back at the house, Helen wasted no time. She led Emma to the living room where Richard stood, arms crossed, his Bible clutched like a weapon. "We've given you a chance to be part of this family," Helen said, her voice icy. "But you've chosen deceit." She held up Emma's journal, now a tattered relic of her inner world. "This Lily, she's more than a friend, isn't she?" Emma's throat closed. She wanted to scream to defend her love, but fear kept her silent. Richard stepped forward. "We've seen girls like you before. You will not bring that sin into our home." Emma's mind raced. How had they known? Had someone seen her last night? Or had her journal betrayed her? "Its pages too honest for this house of secrets?" "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, her voice steady despite the storm inside. Helen's lips curled into a thin smile. "Don't lie to us. We've spoken to the neighbors. They saw you sneaking out. They saw you with her." The word dripped with disdain and Emma's heart sank. Willow Creek was small, its eyes everywhere. The Carltons' punishment was swift. They locked her phone in a drawer, banned her from leaving the house, and assigned her extra chores. But worse was the counseling session they forced her into with Pastor Evans, a man whose soft voice hid a steely conviction. "Homosexuality is a choice," he told her, his eyes pitying. "You can be fixed, Emma, if you submit to God's will." She sat through it, her nails digging into her palms, her thoughts a mantra. "I am not broken. I love her. I am not broken." That night, alone in her room, Emma felt the walls closing in. She couldn't write in her journal anymore. Helen had confiscated it, so she whispered her thoughts to the dark. She thought of Lily's courage, her unwavering belief in their love. Lily had grown up in Willow Creek, her parents more accepting but still cautious in a town that whispered about those kinds of people. Emma longed to run to her, to escape this prison, but the Carltons' vigilance was relentless. She was trapped, and the truth about her and Lily was a ticking bomb. A week later, a small act of rebellion gave Emma hope. During a rare moment alone in the kitchen, she found a spare key to the back door, left carelessly on the counter. Her heart pounded as she slipped it into her pocket. That night, she waited until the house was silent, then crept out again. The air was crisp, the stars sharp above Willow Creek. Lily was waiting at their spot, a secluded bench by the creek, hidden by willows. "I was so scared," Lily whispered, pulling Emma close. "I thought they'd take you away for good." "They're trying," Emma admitted, her voice breaking. "They know about us, Lily. They think it's wrong." Lily's eyes flashed with anger. "They don't get to decide who we are. We'll find a way, Emma. I promise." They made a plan. Lily would save money from her part-time job at the bookstore, and they'd leave Willow Creek when Emma turned 19, free from the system. It was a fragile hope, but it was enough to keep Emma going. But the Carltons were always one step ahead. The next day, Helen confronted Emma with a new ultimatum. "You will end this relationship, or we'll send you to a program that will." Emma's blood ran cold. She'd heard of those programs, conversion camps, places that broke people like her. "You can't do that," she said, her voice shaking with defiance. Helen's eyes narrowed. "We can and we will. You're under our care, Emma. Don't test us." The threat hung over her like a storm cloud. Emma knew she had to protect Lily, but every choice felt like a betrayal. Of her love, her truth, or her safety. She started hiding notes in her shoes, tiny scraps of paper with messages for Lily, passed through a trusted friend at church. Each note was a risk, but they were her lifeline. "I love you. Don't give up on me." She didn't know how long she could hold on, but she knew one thing. She'd fight for Lily, no matter the cost. The air in the Carlton house grew heavier, each day a battle to keep Emma's spirit intact. She moved like a ghost through their rigid routines, her defiance buried deep but never extinguished. Lily's notes, smuggled through their friend Sarah, were her only light. "We'll get through this. I'm saving every penny. Stay strong." But the Carltons' grip tightened, and Emma felt the noose of their control closing around her neck. One evening while scrubbing dishes, Emma overheard a conversation that froze her blood. Helen and Richard were in the study, their voices low but sharp. "Her records came in," Richard said. "There's something about her mother, something they didn't tell us." Helen's reply was curt. "Whatever it is, it explains her behavior. We'll use it to keep her in line." Emma's hands trembled, the sponge slipping from her fingers. Her mother? She hadn't thought about her in years, not since she was 6, when the state took her away from a woman too lost in addiction to care for her. What could they have found? The next day, Helen sat Emma down with a folder in her hands, her expression unreadable. "Your mother," she began, "was a troubled woman. Did you know she was arrested for fraud? That she abandoned you to chase her vices?" Emma's chest tightened. She'd buried those memories, but the pain still lingered. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Helen's eyes gleamed. "Because you're walking the same path, Emma. This obsession with that girl is a sin, just like your mother's choices. We're here to save you." Emma's anger flared, but she swallowed it. They were using her past as a weapon, twisting it to justify their control. She wanted to scream that her love for Lily wasn't a sin, wasn't like her mother's mistakes, but she knew arguing would only make things worse. Instead, she nodded, her face blank, and retreated to her room. There she wrote a note to Lily. "They're digging into my past. They think it's leverage. I'm scared, but I won't let them win." The Carltons escalated their efforts. They enrolled Emma in a stricter counseling program with Pastor Evans, who now met with her twice a week. Each session was a barrage of scripture and shame, his words chipping away at her resolve. "You can choose to be better," he'd say, his tone soft but insidious. "You don't have to be like your mother." Emma bit her tongue, her thoughts screaming. "I'm not her. I'm me, and I love who I love." Lily, meanwhile, was working overtime at the bookstore, her savings growing slowly but steadily. She sent Emma a note with a plan. "I've got $500. Another few months and we can get you out. Meet me at the creek Sunday night." Emma clung to that promise, but Sunday felt a lifetime away. The Carlton surveillance was relentless. Helen checked her room daily, and Richard followed her to church, his eyes like a predator's. Emma started hiding her notes in the hem of her jeans, her heart racing every time Helen's gaze lingered too long. Then came the night that changed everything. Emma slipped out to meet Lily, the key to the back door her only ally. The creek was their sanctuary, the willows shielding them from the world. Lily held her tightly, her voice fierce. "I talked to a lawyer, Emma. When you're 19, they can't control you anymore. We just need to hold on." Emma's eyes burned with tears. "They know about my mom," she whispered. "They're using it against me." Lily's jaw tightened. "They don't know you. You're not your past." But as they parted, a shadow moved in the trees. Emma's heart stopped. It was Richard, his face a mask of rage. "You thought you could sneak around?" he growled, grabbing her arm. Lily stepped forward, but Emma pushed her back. "Go," she hissed. "I'll handle this." Lily hesitated, her eyes wide with fear, then disappeared into the night. Richard dragged Emma back to the house, where Helen waited, her silence more terrifying than any words. The punishment was brutal. They confiscated her clothes, replacing them with shapeless dresses meant to purify her. They banned her from church, claiming she was a bad influence. And they scheduled her for a conversion program, set to start in 2 weeks. Emma's hope flickered, but Lily's words echoed in her mind. "You're stronger than they are." She had to believe it because giving up meant losing everything. Emma's world shrank to the 4 walls of her room, the Carltons' control absolute. They'd taken everything, her journal, her freedom, her dignity. But they couldn't take Lily from her heart. Each night, she whispered Lily's name like a prayer, clinging to the hope of their escape. But the conversion program loomed, a specter that threatened to break her. Sarah, their friend from church, became their lifeline. She smuggled notes between Emma and Lily, risking her own safety. Lily's messages were fierce. "I'm at $800. We're so close. Don't let them change you. Emma hid the notes in her mattress, each one a spark of resistance. But the Carltons were relentless. Helen began searching her room daily, tearing through her belongings with a zealot's fervor. We're saving your soul, she'd say, her eyes cold. Emma wanted to scream that her soul didn't need saving, but she kept silent, biding her time. One afternoon while folding laundry, Emma overheard Helen on the phone. Yes, the program starts soon, she said. She's resistant, but we've dealt with worse. Her mother's history gives us leverage. Emma's blood boiled. Her mother again. Always her mother. A ghost they wielded like a club. She didn't know the full story, only fragments. Addiction, abandonment, a life unraveling. But she wasn't her mother, and she'd prove it. That night Emma took a desperate risk. She stole Helen's phone while she slept, her hands shaking as she texted Lily. They're sending me away soon. We need to move faster. Lily's reply came instantly. I'm working doubles. I'll get us a car. Hold on. Emma deleted the messages and returned the phone, her heart pounding. She didn't know how they'd pull this off, but she trusted Lily's determination. The next day disaster struck. Sarah was caught passing a note at church, and Helen's wrath was swift. She interrogated Emma, her voice venomous. You think you can outsmart us? This ends now. She revealed their plan. The conversion program wasn't just counseling. It was a residential facility, far from Willow Creek, designed to fix girls like her. Emma's stomach dropped. She'd heard stories of those places, isolation, shame, worse. She had to act or she'd lose herself. With only days left, Emma and Lily devised a desperate plan through Sarah. Lily had saved enough for a used car, and they'd leave the night before the program started. Emma would sneak out, meet Lily at the creek, and they'd drive west to a city where they could start over. It was reckless, but it was their only shot. Emma spent her days playing the obedient foster child, her nights memorizing the house's creaks and the Carltons' routines. The night of the escape arrived, the air electric with tension. Emma waited until midnight, then slipped out, the key to the back door her salvation. She ran to the creek, her heart in her throat. Lily was there, her face pale but resolute, the keys to a battered sedan in her hand. They embraced, tears mixing with laughter. We're doing this, Lily whispered. Together. But as they turned to leave, headlights pierced the darkness. Richard's truck roared up, blocking their path. You're not going anywhere, he bellowed, stepping out. Helen was with him, her face twisted with betrayal. We trusted you, Emma, and this is how you repay us? Emma's knees buckled, but Lily stepped forward, her voice steady. She's not yours to control. Let her go. Richard laughed, a cruel sound. You're both sinners and you'll answer for it. He grabbed Emma's arm, but she yanked free, her fear giving way to fury. The standoff was interrupted by a new voice, Sarah's father, a local cop, drawn by the commotion. What's going on here? He demanded. Emma's heart raced. This was their chance or their doom. She took a breath and spoke, her voice clear despite the chaos. They're trying to send me to a conversion camp. I love her, and they can't change that. The words hung in the air, raw and unapologetic. Sarah's father hesitated, his face unreadable, and Emma braced for the worst. The night air crackled with tension as Sarah's father, Officer Daniels, stood between Emma and the Carltons. His flashlight swept over the scene. Emma and Lily clutching each other, Richard's face red with rage, Helen's lips a tight line. This is a family matter, Richard snapped. She's our responsibility. But Emma's words echoed in Daniel's mind. Conversion camp. He'd heard rumors about those places and his jaw tightened. Emma, tell me everything, Daniel said, his voice calm but firm. Emma's heart pounded, but she saw a flicker of hope in his eyes. She poured out the truth. The Carltons' rules, the counseling, the threats, her love for Lily. Her voice broke as she spoke of her mother, the past the Carltons used to shame her. I'm not her, she said. I just want to be free. Lily squeezed her hand, her presence a steady anchor. Daniels turned to the Carltons. Is this true? You're planning to send her to one of those camps? Helen bristled. We're saving her soul. She's troubled like her mother was. Daniel's eyes narrowed. I knew her mother. She was broken, but Emma's not. And what you're doing here, it's not salvation. It's control. Emma's breath caught. Someone believed her. The Carltons protested, but Daniels wasn't swayed. He radioed for backup, then turned to Emma and Lily. You two get in my car. We're sorting this out at the station. Emma hesitated, fear clawing at her, but Lily nodded. They climbed into the cruiser, their hands still linked. As they drove away, Emma glanced back at the Carltons, their faces pale in the headlights. For the first time she felt a spark of power. At the station, Daniels called Emma's caseworker, Ms. Thompson, who arrived bleary-eyed but furious. Why wasn't I told about this camp? She demanded. The Carltons had gone behind her back, forging documents to enroll Emma. Ms. Thompson pulled Emma aside. You're 18, Emma. You have rights. If you want out, I'll make it happen. Emma's eyes widened. Freedom was so close, but the system was a maze, and she feared it would pull her back. Lily stayed by her side, her voice fierce. We'll fight this together. I've got the car, and I'm not letting you go. Ms. Thompson nodded, her face softening. I'll file for your emancipation. It'll take time, but you're not going back to that house. Emma's chest ached with hope and fear. She'd never dared dream of a life where she could love openly. But now it felt possible. The next week was a whirlwind. Emma was placed in a temporary shelter while Ms. Thompson worked on her case. The Carltons were investigated, their foster license under scrutiny. Sarah's father became an unexpected ally, sharing what he'd seen with the authorities. Emma and Lily met in secret at the shelter, their moments stolen but precious. We're almost there, Lily whispered, her eyes bright with determination. A new start, just us. But the truth about Emma's past wasn't done with her. Ms. Thompson uncovered more records. Emma's mother had left her a small trust, hidden by years of bureaucracy. It wasn't much, but it was enough for a fresh start. Emma cried when she heard, not for the money, but for the proof that her mother had cared, even in her broken way. The Carltons had tried to use her past to destroy her, but instead, it became her salvation. Months later, Emma and Lily stood in a small apartment in Pittsburgh, their new home. It was cramped, the walls peeling, but it was theirs. They'd left Willow Creek behind, its judgment fading like a bad dream. Emma hung their Polaroid on the wall, a symbol of their resilience. We made it, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Lily kissed her, soft and sure. We did. And we're never hiding again. Their love wasn't just a rebellion anymore. It was a promise, a life built on truth. The world might not always understand, but Emma and Lily had each other, and that was enough. The Carltons' house, their rules, their shame, they'd crumbled under the weight of Emma's courage. Her past had tried to define her, but she'd written her own story, one of love, defiance, and a future worth fighting for.